Okay, so we're going to look specifically at using the level map to create a 3D mock-up of the level. So we're going to begin by, hopefully you've got a basic understanding of the basic tools. We'll start with, obviously, the most useful initial tools are the orbit tool. You can press O to shortcut to that, or it's up on the bar there. Once you've got that selected, if you press Shift, you can pan. If you hold down Shift, you can pan. Mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is import in the level map. So to do that, to File, Import, navigate to where the level map is on your system, and that should bring it straight in. Then if you just bring it to the origin, so just drag it to the origin until you see the origin pop up there, and then you can click to deselect. Okay, when you open up the new file, incidentally, just make sure you select millimeters, so architectural, and then millimeters for the units we're going to use. Okay, the next thing is to just look at scale. So if we just zoom in on a doorway is a usually good area to use just to work out the scale of the rest of it. If you select the tape measure, click and drag across the doorway, you will see in the bottom right hand corner the dimensions. Now mine are 308 millimeters at the moment. I'm going to increase that to 900 millimeters, which is 3 feet. So drag that across, type in the new value with the mouse button still down, release the mouse button, press enter. That will ask if I want to resize the model, so I'll say yes to that, and that resizes the entire model to that scale. So again, a good way of just initially setting up the scale. Okay, what we're going to do now is separate out the ground floor and the first floor. Okay, to do that, we right click on the, so let me just deselect the orbit tool. So just with the selection tool selected, you can press spacebar to switch to that. Right click on the image and select explode. That basically turns the image into a texture. You see it pixelated. I want to click on it now. So I want to separate out the two floors. Just zoom out a bit. Select the rectangle tool, drag a rectangle over one of the floors, and then group that. So edit and make group. Spacebar back to the selection tool. Actually, if we just move that away, that new selection, so I'm going to click on one of them and separate them out with the move tool. So I've grouped the one on the left, I've grouped the one on the right now. So edit, make group, move tool, move them around freely, separately now. Okay, so the next stage is we're going to start to project the walls up from the plan view. To do that, we want to actually go inside the picture file. So with the selection tool, space bar selection tool, we right click on the image, select edit group, and we can go inside that group we made. If there are any edges like I've got here, untidy edges, you can just tidy those up. So just selecting the edges and then with the move tool, just trimming them in a bit. Okay, so the next stage, if we're now just using the view tools, get to a suitable viewpoint. Now with the selection tool, if we double click to go inside that group again, then if we use the rectangle tool, and again don't worry about this being absolutely exact at the moment, so we'll draw out with the rectangle tool, draw over a section of the wall. Then with the push pull tool, we drag up, project up section of the wall. We want this to be 3 meters high, which is 3000 millimeters. I'll type that value in. Sorry, let me do that again. Type the value in, press enter, that will size it to 3000 millimeters, then release the mouse. Okay, that's our first wall. What you'll notice is useful about this, it actually projects the plan view up as a texture onto the wall, so we can still see where the window is on there, which is extremely useful. Okay, so the next stage is to project a wall from this first initial wall. So we'll project this wall off around the main doorway here. So basically, just referring to the plan, we draw off another rectangle that takes the plan as its reference point. So we draw the rectangle on the face of the existing wall, then back to push-pull, and then drag that wall out so that projects out from that initial wall. Okay, so the next stage is we're going to look at creating a window. So what we can do is, if we want to, again, if we've got our measurements on our plan and we want to measure out the size of the window, we can use the tape measure again, and we can drag off measurements from edges. Now, the thing to remember here is, if you look at the X, Y, Z axes, if you remember the vertical axis is the blue. So if you're dragging and the arrow isn't blue, be careful because it won't be flush with the face. So I'll drag that down for the top of the window. I'm not sticking to any measurements here, and that up to the bottom of the window. Then with the rectangle tool, we can draw out the window. Make sure that the window is selected. When you drag this through, if you drag it through to the point, look at how I've dragged it through here, drag it to till you see this little dotted arrow coming off the push-pull tool, which should indicate that you've dragged it all the way through to the other side. Release, and that'll have kind of punched a hole in the wall. Okay, so just added a few more walls here. What you can do to really just neaten up the appearance of the model now is you can start to think about adding textures or colours to the walls. So very simply to do that, there's a paint bucket tool here at the top. You can press B to open that up. And there are a series of pre-made textures in here you can choose from, or there's a colour swatch. So I'm just going to go for white, just a simple white. So you can select the colours from the drop-down menu here, select white, and then very simply just click on the faces of the walls. Obviously keeping the top face, because we want to reference that just to see where, to show us where doors and walls should be. Click on, use that on interior walls. Okay, so just a way of neatening up the model. Okay, so now we're going to look at placing one floor above another. So obviously we've modelled the two floors separately. What we want to do now is place this first floor on top of this ground floor. So I've just done a simple 4 walls here. And remember, these are separate groups, which makes it easier to move them around. And what we want to do is we want to place this exactly on top of here. A very simple way of doing that is using something called inference locking. So if I click on this corner point here with the move tool, then drag over to this corner point here, click again, that will be locked exactly one floor above the other.